Good morning, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be working on a car that has a bit of a history, unfortunately. Now I'm not going to go saying any names in this video. I'm not going to try and stir up any drama because it's already been settled. But to sum it up, we have an RX-7 behind us here. Now this car has a bit of a history, and not in a good way, and I mean that because the car has been through the hands of some uncaring shops in the past. So to basically there's some people in the community that happen to be pretty big on social media and such, and they kind of specialize in these cars. And from what I understood, according to the owner, about 8 years and about $40,000 in a cross-country move with the car, and this is the state that we see the car in currently. Now, I don't believe that much of the car is different since the owner has picked it up and started, tinkering on it since they received it back. But the car did have to be settled in a court case, unfortunately, and a lot of money was lost on this car for a lot of progress to not be made. So the front bumper is off because it's over there because of what I'm doing. So essentially, I'm not going to go into details because it's not my business to share. Just, whatever. They have a video up on it. I will pin it if they want me to, that they made about the car on its own. Otherwise, let's just talk about what I'm here for. So if you guys want to know what $5,000 worth of fabrication work looks like from other shops as compared to people like me, let me show you. So to my understanding, the fab work that was done, I don't know if this was included, this filler neck here. This looks a little bit too nice to be done by them, honestly. So what do you notice about the intercooler here? A little crooked, huh? That's because it is. They did the V-mount setup, but they really half-assed it or rushed it, whatever the situation was. So a few issues here. This is obviously very crooked. I wonder why. Because it is touching harness. It's only held up with this bracket here. Nothing else on the sides. It's touching the frame here, which I get it. It's a big intercooler, but there's just cleaner ways they could have done it. But the issue is, other than it being crooked, they also made the charge pipe. Now the charge pipe is too short on this side, so it keeps blowing this coupler off right here. This one, it doesn't look terrible. This one I think works. What was it? The other issue is the radiator. So radiator down here, also crooked, slanted, and haggard. So the other part that I don't like is look at these mounts that they made. So when you're paying $5 grand, I think most people expect higher quality, bracketry than rusted square stock welded to their frame rails. So I understand that's basically the best way to mount it, but I mean, come on, you're paying $5,000. It's like I don't know. This is not $5,000 in work. Just for reference, I charge $100 an hour. Plus materials and consumables. Consumables being, welding gas, filler rod, blade usage, any flat discs, cutoff wheels, stuff like that. And this just isn't there. Like, let's be realistic. This is not vibrant quality, or, this is not vibrant material. This is your eBay special. They used a vibrant elbow, because I believe that's the only people that make these weld elbows. So they modified the compressor housing. That takes all of 30 minutes. This charge pipe, what is that, a 45 and some straight. So yeah, in aluminum, they probably got maybe, I'd say $70 worth of material with that elbow. With this little bracket here, doesn't look terrible, but little details matter. So like right here, for example, zoom you in a little bit. So you got 2 tack welds here, and then a attempted bead where they just melted away. So yeah, maybe I'm just being a little bit picky, but again, when you're paying $5,000, you expect them to at least finish the welds and don't show the extremely ugly spots. Like when you tack stuff, usually it's because you're going to go over it, or you put it in a place where you're not going to see it. So obviously that's problematic. And then again, hitting the harness here. Yeah, they also did hard aluminum water pipes, which is fine, cool, whatever. Except that they did a bunch of weird, funky curves with them when they didn't need to. So like, for example, this one right here, this is the lower portion where the hose is connecting. Why didn't they just go straight down and do a 90 over instead of doing this weird, funky, 20 and then 20 back and then 45 over? And then why didn't they just drill and tap for an IAT port, or they just weld on an 1/8 inch NPT fitting for, you know, the water temp sensor. Like, it's little stuff like that, because now this actually leaks. The car barely made it here because of all the stinking hose clamps. You know, it is like, it's so half-assed. I'm trying to think of what else. I don't know if they did any other fab work, honestly. I'm pretty sure it was just V-mount, charge pipe, water pipes, and that was $5,000. Now again, I didn't see the invoice, so I can't fully confirm this, but I mean, I don't know. I'm taking the word for it. So I don't know. I can't believe that shops like that get continuous business, and then there's the little guys like me. And granted, I'm still the small guy trying to build my name up. I've only been doing it a year and a half, but these dudes have waiting lists of like months to a year or so. And then there's dudes like me that like really put all their effort into a job, and then I'm struggling to, you know, feed myself the following week because, you know, somehow guys like this are just getting all the work. So basically, I guess that's enough of an introductory of me whining. So what I did do already is I mounted the power steering cooler. So this was customer added cooler. So I just made some simple little brackets. But essentially, I'm just going to go through and I'm going to remount this radiator, remount the intercooler, modify this charge pipe and that one if need be. And then depending on if I have enough material, I'm probably going to go through and remake this charge pipe or this water pipe here. This one doesn't seem to be leaking. It's just ugly, but it's, you know, we're not trying to mess with that one yet. But yeah, at least remake this and add a 1/8 NPT fitting for this water temp sensor and get this guy cleaned up. But I just wanted to showcase this, make a little bit of a video on it, and yeah, I don't know, just share my disappointment. And that, like, all this work doesn't even include all the missing stuff in here. Now, granted, I believe it's torn apart right now because the owner is adding some sound deadening and such, but with that all being said, let's get cracking on this thing. I'm gonna start first on the intercooler because I have a guy coming for me to install an exhaust here shortly, so I don't wanna open the water stuff yet. So take out the charge pipe, let's cut this bracket off and figure out, make something new that's not touching that and sits a little bit straighter. So really this side over here just needs to be pushed back a little bit, or the whole thing needs to just lift up about a ½ an inch to get off that harness. So it's a little funky, you know, I'm not gonna lie. I just, you know, it is difficult to make stuff like this. Trying to prop it up, honestly, is the hard part. Like making brackets and everything, that's easy. Setting this to where it doesn't move on you and to where you can like really get a angle on it, that's the hardest part, I think. So I'm gonna do my best and we'll figure this thing out and try and get it level. So I just wanted to show you guys this. This is the charge pipe that I just pulled off of the left side. So you can see all these little fish eyes in here, these little pinholes. That's not what you want. So to me, that tells me they were stop and starting a lot. But the bigger issue is this actually has a crack in it, right? Where'd it go? I just seen it. Yeah, right there. See that crack? So this thing, I'm gonna have to go over this thing. I might just make another piece. But yeah, this thing's not gonna hold the boost pressure. This thing's pushing around 20 pounds. So yeah, I don't know. They got penetration, which is good, but it doesn't look like it's supposed to. I don't know. So yeah, interesting to see, but whatever. This is really just a gift that keeps on giving. Now, again, this is just stuff that you just, when you pay attention to the detail, this type of stuff doesn't happen. Look at this. So this is the bracket. I was just turning it around to cut it off. I didn't set it all the way on the table because the blow-off valve. So I just happened to face it towards me, and look at this. So that fat crack, like that tear in the metal. So that's a, you know, this is because this is aluminum, basically, long story short. So this is a 4043 aluminum. So this is like a higher quality stuff. The issue with 4043 is it's a lot harder. It doesn't bend. So in this instance, this is probably what they used here was 4043. The aluminum that does bend is, I have some over there, it's called 5052. It's a lot softer, so you can get away with bending it. That's what they use for stuff, you know, to make brackets with normally. So in this case, this is fine if they would have just welded the backside too, to at least hide that. But no, again, just showcasing the quality of their work. And yeah, again, it's just a gift that keeps on giving. back here, second day. Today we're going to be trying to knock out the radiator stuff. I want to make a correction. So I don't know if if the numbers are right. I just was like scrolling my buddy's page that's been working on the car for the owner. I don't remember if it's $14,000 or $40,000, like 40, because his YouTube series shows 14, but I thought he had said 40. I don't know. Either way, a lot of money was dumped in this car, and anyway, that's what we're redoing, obviously. So yeah, radiator stuff is next. Intercooler stuff is looking pretty decent. Again, I'm probably going to try and add a second mount, but radiator stuff first. So to begin this, I need to drain it. He said it should be pretty much just water because he had to bleed it a handful of times to bring it over here. He said there's more water in the trunk, and I got some more distilled water over here by the sink. So we're just going to grab a bucket and start draining this. I didn't hit record yet because I thought it was empty, and I just undid this lower clamp and I just took a coolant bath. So always happens to me, no matter what. This line is chock full of it, and I should have anticipated that because the way the radiator is set up, that there's going to be fluid in the rest of the lines. See how this what'd I tell you? No penetration. Absolutely none. Honestly, that's hilarious. So I'm gonna try and film that for Instagram now on the other one. So hilariously enough, this one did the same thing. Took a couple more smacks, but it still came off. But I also wanted to show you, I was just outside flushing the radiator out of all the old rusty water, and I realized they didn't even bolt the fan on all the way. They just, you know, it was like that. Like, really? So it's looking pretty level. The level showed that it was level, but I'm not liking that it's not perfectly centered in this opening. So you can see that because this bracket here, you know, protrudes off the side, whereas this one kind of comes under the frame rail. I'm not liking that. So I think I'm just going to go ahead, chop those off and make new ones like I kind of didn't want to do, more so, again, just trying to save on the money. But I don't know why they made that one the way it did, because that one was basically like that before, and now I got it straight. But yeah, I don't know, it's just not centered. So I'm gonna go ahead, chop those off. I'll come up with something new, and you know, we'll figure it out. After tinkering with this for quite a few hours now, I've tried different style mounts. Wasn't happy with really any of them for accessibility and changeability. So what I've opted for is making some spaced brackets like this. You can see that I have the washer or the, you know, dowel welded to space it, because that helps center everything. So it is as level as I can get it here, from the ends of the frame caps to the tips of the core, or to the end tank. It's 5.5 inches, so it's as level and even as I can get it. So I'm gonna go ahead, I already prepped the metal back there. I'm gonna go ahead and weld that, if it'll focus up back there.
well, oh, wrong way. So that worked. Yeah, I just bolted it up, so I'm gonna go get some black paint on my way in tomorrow and paint that. It's actually extremely rigid. I think I might still make those tabs to bolt it to the intercooler, just more so the intercooler has secondary mounts. So again, it's not resting on just the charge piping. But that'll again be for tomorrow, since we're still waiting on the clamps for the VanGen clamps anyway. But yeah, shouldn't be too crazy. We're looking pretty decent though. Yeah, take a look. Looks good from over top. That's a win. Got some black paint. We're a few days after that last clip now. The rest of the parts showed up, so ideally, I'm really trying to just crank this thing out today. So the footage is, you know, it's probably gonna be lacking for this. I did bring my GoPro so we can try and just do some POV, so I can just kind of let the camera roll and I'll work and trim it up and show you guys what I think is the most interesting stuff. So let's recap really quick. This is what we've been waiting on. These are called VanGen clamps, Wiggins clamps, whatever. I think the Wiggins is a specific brand, whereas the VanGen is the term. Basically, they're similar to V-bands in the sense that they get welded on. It's a solid connection, but these have a flex because, you know, you need to have flex in the charge pipe. So these use a locking collar. It's pretty efficient. And then they use these O-rings to seal. Now, these are off-brand ones because the Vibrant ones are ridiculously expensive. So the cheat code is to use the cheap ones and just get the Vibrant O-rings, because the cheap ones O-rings tend to not seal the most efficiently. So we got these. We got 1/8 inch MPT weld bung to replace the sensor port here, so we can ditch some of those hose clamps, because I'm going to remake this water pipe, so that'll be good. And then to help bleed this thing, because I think they tried using this as a swirl pot and they messed up, or they didn't care enough. We don't have the money to build a swirl pot for this guy, so what we're going to do to just help it is, you see the top of the radiator up there, the top tank? We're going to go ahead and we're going to put another 1/8 inch MPT and a fitting to act as like a burp or a bleed nipple, so hopefully that'll help. So objective is Wiggins, or VanGen. Paint back here, trim that tab off, water pipe, weld bung, and weld bung. And then, a resonator too, because the one that's in there is rattling pretty bad, so a Vibrant Ultra Quiet. And that's gonna finish this thing up, so let's get cracking. So I've never worked with these VanGen clamps before, and I didn't realize, maybe it's just because they are off-brand, but they don't measure the same as V-bands that I'm used to working with. So they're actually a little bit bigger, so I had to go ahead and I had to use my cone. I tried to put it in the press, but there's nothing to press on from the backside. So I had to hit it with a hammer and my cone and flare it out. But we got a good enough flare so we can get a good weld bead in here. So I'm gonna go ahead, prep this, and get these welded onto here. As weird as it was to weld this thing, because it's big and awkward and heavy, the flanges are welded on both sides, so we are good to go. I'm gonna go ahead, let this finish cooling down. I do have to trim this bracket off because the intercooler was resting on this, and I don't want it to damage it. So we're gonna trim that off and then move on to, I do have to make an expanded piece to flare this, like at a normal pipe, because this isn't gonna fit with the Wiggins clamp or the VanGen, whatever. And then on this one, the Gretty one, the power steering line's a little bit in the way here, so I do have to trim this back just a little bit to weld on the clamp onto this guy, so that way, you know, the band around it has clearance from hitting, you know, here. All right, well, I goofed. I was filming with the GoPro yesterday and left the SD card at home, so I'm just going to show you really quick what I'm doing. So again, I already mentioned modifying the Gretty piece. Sorry, DJ, if you didn't want that, but you gave me 4 clamps, so we're doing 4 clamps. But on this one, because I wanted to save a little bit of space, you can see there's a little bit of a edge on here where I can cut back. So I'm going to cut back and then make a flare piece. Alright, so we're pushing just about 8 o'clock at night. It's been a long freaking day. I spent way too much time on these church pipes. For whatever reason, my brain just decided to completely shut off for the day, and I could not figure these things out, and it took forever. But this one's done. It's all welded out. The other one is cooling off on the car with all the pie cuts. Yeah, they're very hot still. I actually did just burn myself pretty good on my forearm there. I don't know if it's gonna pick it up, but yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up for the night. I'm gonna install these things and we'll finish this thing up tomorrow, hopefully. Next day, let's finish this thing up. I'm gonna just throw you guys on time lapse. I'm gonna knock out the trimming of the radiator bracket here. I'm gonna paint the radiator mounts that I made, and then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna make a bracket, that top bracket I was making a template for yesterday, I think I mentioned. Very rough draft right here, just rounding the edges and stuff, and there's a tab down there. So throw you guys on time lapse to save it for video sake, and we'll just knock this stuff out. Okay, drawing near to the end here. Got the water pipes all sorted. This one I was going to remake, but now because I'm limited on material and more so on budget, I'm not going to, because this one fits, and as far as I can tell, it doesn't leak. So that's still good. This one I got modified. You can see it up there. That's the part where we added with the bung on there. So that's all good. All that's left now is I have to pull the radiator off because I forgot that it's missing this extra tab right here for the fan. So it has those two. It just needs this other one so it doesn't fall off. But we just have the vibrant resonator that's left. The reason we're putting that one on is because he's just not happy with the sound. It's a little rattly, raspy, and this thing's a little tired, and this is the only spot we can fit it because everything else is just a little too hugged up to the chassis. So gonna go ahead, chop it out of this section. I'm not gonna do anything fancy with it because it's really old looking metal, so I'm just gonna MIG weld it. We're not gonna TIG it. Also keep the budget down. Okay, drawing near to the end here. Got the water pipes all sorted. This one I was going to remake, but now because I'm limited on material and more so on budget, I'm not going to, because this one fits, and as far as I can tell, it doesn't leak. So that's still good. This one I got modified. You can see it up there. That's the part where we added with the bung on there. So that's all good. All that's left now is I have to pull the radiator off because I forgot that it's missing this extra tab right here for the fan. So it has those two. It just needs this other one so it doesn't fall off. But we just have the vibrant resonator that's left. The reason we're putting that one on is because he's just not happy with the sound. It's a little rattly, raspy, and this thing's a little tired, and this is the only spot we can fit it because everything else is just a little too hugged up to the chassis. So gonna go ahead, chop it out of this section. I'm not gonna do anything fancy with it because it's really old looking metal, so I'm just gonna MIG weld it. We're not gonna TIG it. Also keep the budget down. I'm gonna just throw this in here as a blooper, we'll call it. you know, I'm just a person, and I want to show that I make mistakes as well. That's a big part of my channel, is being transparent, you know, sharing expressions and feelings, and, you know, when things go wrong, I usually try to show it. Something went wrong. I was trying, as you saw, we were just bleeding it, but if you look closely on that clip of the bolt on the bleeder valve that I put in there, you'll notice a silver thread, and that's because it pulled all the threads. So the lesson I learned here was, normally when you weld a bung, or when I weld a bung onto something, I usually have, you know, a bolt in it of some sort to chill it. Like O2 bungs, I have a chill block that I thread into it to keep the threads in shape, but that's always on steel stuff. I don't do much aluminum stuff. Normally it's AN stuff and not like 1/8 inch bungs like we put on here. So the lesson I learned was that if you put an aluminum threaded bolt into an aluminum bung, when you weld it, the heat distorts it. So basically what happened is the threads just got dicked. So now I gotta pull the cooling system back apart, pull this radiator out, chop that bung off, and weld another one in. So it's, you know, it's an easy fix. It's like 12 bucks worth of parts, but now I just wasted, you know, an hour and a half, 2 hours of labor on myself because you goof, you know. Sometimes shit happens. I'm bummed, but whatever. We'll see you tomorrow because the store's about to close and I don't have time because I still got to weld the diff. So we will fire this thing up tomorrow and hopefully be fully done with it. The video, I don't know how long or short it is at this point. It could be like an hour. I don't know. But I didn't want to chop it up because whatever. So tomorrow, fucking finish this thing. Okay, fresh day, fresh start. We got another bung and we got another fitting. So this time, let's weld this without this in it and then put this all back together. Alright, well, she's ready. So, oh boy, falling over. Let's fire this thing up and try and bleed it out. Alright, so I think I got it bled. It's really fighting me. This thing really needs a swirl pot. Sorry for the noise. You know, air compressor's going because he's doing tires, but let's take this thing around the block really quick and see what happens. So I've taken it around the block of the shop. It's still holding strong at 175, so I'm going to take it on the main road here and get a little bit more up to speed and see what happens. So we're looking pretty good though. So at least for doing pulls, I just did a couple of second and third gear, like halfway rippers. The temp's holding steady right now. We're at 167. The highest has gotten so far is like 183. Got tape in my on my mic. But yeah, no, we're looking great. So I'm gonna just take it back to the shop and I think that's about it. We'll end it there. RX-7's done. Ready to go home. It ran really good. You know, no issues, at least while I was driving it. So I'm pretty stoked on it. The front bumper just has to go on, but they'll probably put that on once they come pick it up because I think they took the hardware with it, if I'm being honest. I don't remember them leaving it. So, yeah, car looks good and, well, doesn't look good, but everything looks a lot better than it did. All right, so I don't want to take up much more of you guys' time. This video has already been pretty long. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to let me know in the comments down below. If you're new to the channel, hopefully you've considered subscribing by now. It was a fun one, you know. It sucks that shops that messed up that car exist, and hopefully this shows a lot of you guys that there's not always bad people out there. You know, shops like myself and others like me try to do our best, put our best efforts in, and it's not always about, you know, the absolute getting every single dollar for the job. Sometimes we just care about what we do. Anyways, guys, do what you love. Forget about the rest. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.